And so my migration from being a full-throated supporter of the death penalty to being an opponent of the death penalty today, and just as outspoken in opposition today as I was when I was a supporter, is based on the fact that the undeniable fact that in any system that is driven by decisions that are made by human beings, mistakes will be made. And for some people, it's good enough to have a legal system that produces the right result most of the time, but for me that sets the bar too low. I think that particularly in death penalty cases, because the sanction is final and can't be undone, that what we have to be sure of is that the innocent are protected, and the system can't make that guarantee. And so that's the reason why I'm an opponent of the death penalty today.
And that you were involved in prosecuting a dozen or a half dozen capital cases?
Probably,
so.
Yeah.
And with convictions, and all those folks were executed.
That's true.
Was there any particular occurrence that stopped your thinking and halted your support of the death penalty?
The thing that caused me to begin to look at the death penalty in terms of whether the system actually works were things that actually occurred outside the state of Texas. There was a massive study that was done in the late 90s by Professor Liebman at Columbia University that arrived at the conclusion that the system is broken, at least as it relates to death penalty prosecutions. I was also motivated by the fact that in Illinois, a group of journalism students at Northwestern University satisfied the governor of Illinois that 13 people who were on death row in that state were in fact innocent. And what that led to was Governor Ryan's decision to commute the death sentences of more than 160 people who were on death row in Illinois. And that all happened in the 1990-2000 time frame, and I took the position in 2000 that we had to have a moratorium on executions until we could be sure that the system did in fact guarantee the protection of the innocent. What happened last year, or actually in 2005, that took me from being a philosophical opponent of the death penalty to being an outspoken opponent of the death penalty was the fact that the Houston Chronicle did a wonderful piece of investigative journalism on one of the cases that I prosecuted, and arrived at the conclusion that the defendant in that case may well have been innocent. And so as I sit here today, I may be the only prosecutor in America who has not only been confronted with the probability that he is responsible for the prosecution of an innocent man, but who has accepted personal responsibility for the result in that case. And I've done that not because I'm convinced that the defendant was innocent, but because I am, as I look back on the decision to prosecute that case, I realize today that I made a mistake and that case should never have been prosecuted as a death penalty case. It was a case in which there was no physical evidence that connected the defendant to the crime. The prosecution was based on the testimony of a single eyewitness who was very credible. What has happened in the last 2 years is that witness that was the key to our prosecution of that case has recanted his testimony, and his claim today, frankly, is very credible. He had nothing to gain by reversing his position, but a lot of trouble. And so that case brought home to me in a way that nothing else could have, frankly, that this system that we rely on to determine who may live and who must die simply won't work in all cases, can't work in all cases. And it has to. That's my position. It has to.